So this is just one of many mental asylums that are in this complex of Lecthworth Village. They were shut down in the 90s. On my show on Truth Frequency Radio, I've done reporting about Letchworth Village, the Village of Secrets. There is supernatural levels of psychic energy and trauma and pain imprinted within the stone walls of these asylums. Geraldo Rivera did a report either in the 70s or the 80s on Letchworth Village about the horrific experiments on the mentally disabled that were being done here. Lobotomies, brain experiments, electroshock therapy, rape, murder, arson. Everything that took place within all of these walls. And you can see there are countless buildings. This is a complex of over a couple of hundred buildings, and this is one of the most intense parts. I was seeing a lot of stuff here right before this. It's very interesting how they just let all of this decay. I know a lot of lore about these places because I grew up a mile down the road. I played soccer across the street. The soccer field is right near here, so there's a lot of tales about different sort of stories, and I've have a few stories of my own of supernatural activity that I've encountered around this area. So let's take a drive by some of these places. I'm not going to go in them. Not now, at least. It's freezing right now, too. Alright, so let's take a little roll through. I've seen elongated, skinny ghosts, or whatever you want to call them, disembodied spirits, all looking hunched and weird and all sorts of things here. What's up, Misaki? My brother Misaki's in there. So this is another one, another location right here. Now this truly is the Village of Secrets. I know in the 1940s they had German Nazi scientists working on full frontal lobotomies and electroshock therapy and all sorts of experiments on retarded children and mentally retarded children. There's no outlet here. I can't go past this point, but look at this. Yeah, this is Lecthworth Village. These are haunted. This is an extremely haunted area. Letchworth Village, Geraldo reported on in the 90s or 80s, no, actually 70s or 80s. He did a whole thing about Letchworth Village. Yeah, no, I have a few interesting stories that go along with this that I've talked about before. I think they've even featured this on like Ghost Adventures and things like that. You can see this place is. Whoa. Now they made part of this a golf course. Now the rest is a golf course, some of it. Yeah, I can't. There's people behind me driving right now, so I couldn't slow down anymore. There was people behind me coming, but I've encountered several different types of entities. I mean, me and my friends used to go back here when I was younger as well, but also when I was younger at the soccer fields, I had an encounter with what most likely was a ghost. It was an older man that said he was from Lecthworth Village, and at that time when I was younger in the 80s, and there's somebody following me now out of there. It's a restricted area. You're not allowed. It's like no trespassing, so you're not really allowed on this property. But I didn't enter into anywhere, so it's broad daylight too. Some of these buildings are used for county buildings now, so there is like traffic for the people that belong there. But when I was younger, my soccer fields are right across the street from some of the Lecthworth Village main buildings, and an older guy with like a boombox. This was in the 80s. Some the guys that were more higher functions. Wow. So check out this area. So the guys that were more higher function, they were allowed like on the weekend to walk across to the soccer fields. They were brought to church sometimes. They went out, like they were brought to grocery store, Wendy's, stuff like that. But this one guy used to come and watch my soccer game, and I would see him sometimes on the sideline. And I was thinking everybody else could see him as well all the time, and he would be watching us boys play soccer, and girls. And he would always be carrying like an old school like boom box, right? And you could see all of the catacombs back there of these buildings. Look at how many back there are. I mean, there's literally hundreds when you go all through it. You can see they go all the way back there. There's a fence here preventing me to go any further, but you can see even back there, mad buildings, stone buildings. And there's no telling what took place in these walls. And this old guy used to come to our soccer games. Sometimes I would see him there, and it would be eerie. Yeah, it would be very eerie when I would see him just standing on the side of the soccer field sometimes. So one time, and my mom, she would work in the concession stand sometimes, and I was really good at soccer. I would play on the traveling team and the rec team. So I would, on Sundays on the rec league, I would literally play all day long. I would play my game, whatever time my game was scheduled for, and then I would sub in other people's games that needed extra players. They would want me on their teams. I would score goals all day long or whatever. I stayed there all Sunday. So one Sunday, my mom, I was waiting for my mom, and I followed this old guy. He took me down. I walked with him down the street where the graveyard was. There's unmarked graves where all these people that died, all the mentally retarded people that died within these walls, they were buried on the grounds. The ones that families didn't come take them. and in unmarked, they're just numbered graves, no names. And I ended up falling asleep on one of the graves, like one of these markers, and I woke up and it was about to get dark, and I had to run down the street to the soccer field. So I don't know. It was very, very weird, and I never saw that guy again. The weird thing was, I remember when I ended up walking with him, he said he wanted to show me something cool, and he told me his name was the same name as me as well. And so it was very interesting. So my real name is Ralph Anthony. Some people call me Ralphie as a kid. So he said that was his name as well. As that's where I get the initials Ra. My name's actually, that's my initials, and I've been getting called that since I'm younger by my friends. So it just kind of stuck. And so he said he had the same name as me, and I followed him. But there's a story about Mikey's grave. It's like a local legend, and this is a local legend that you won't find on shows like Freezing right now, but you won't find shows on Ghost Adventures or shows like that have covered Lecthworth Village. You won't find them talking about the story of Mikey's grave. This is a local. It's a local story, and supposedly this kid that lived in these walls. He lived in Letchworth. A mentally retarded kid. His name was Mikey, and he burnt to death in one of these houses, and he was buried on that plot that I'll take you guys to one day. He was buried out there, and then at a certain time of the year when the moon shines on where he's buried, he reappears, and he's trapped couples in cars. He's made like they call it on fire and things like that. So supposedly some sort of disembodied spirit. See, these are wow, this is crazy. So look at this. That one up there is pretty intense. It's like there's like a gate to hell that goes nowhere. Look at that. Look at that. You see that gateway right there? That's a gateway to nowhere. It's bricked up. It's like a demonic portal. Look at that. That is intense. So these are some of the buildings that the county is now using. See, these are the buildings that are still active. In fact, Letchworth Village still runs under another name. They do like outpatient now, though. I don't think there's any inpatient. But there's a whole nother area with way more buildings. There's like it goes for a long time. I don't even know how many acres and miles of land. They took down all the signs for Letchworth Village around the area too, so it's hard to if you don't know about it, it might be tricky to find at first, especially these ones. They're on hidden streets within the area. But I've had family friends that worked in Letchworth Village, friends' moms that's worked growing up, because it just closed in the 90s. So my whole childhood, this shit was open. And I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be like a paradise for the mentally retarded at first. It became a nightmare of experimental brain surgery. And all sorts of crazy torture. They were understaffed. Kids would be laying naked in their own feces. Look at this. It's like bricked up. That's so crazy. There's somebody behind me now, so I gotta go. But this is the walls of Letchworth. I saw an elongated black creature when I was younger, with weird long legs and walking like he was all deformed. And me and my friends ran, and I felt the present for a couple of days afterwards. It was intense. So there's a crazy energy about this place because of the amount of trauma just that's been imprinted on those walls. When Geraldo went live there, when he showed up there, they were so understaffed. There was just kids laying there naked, in their own shit, in their own everything, and they were screaming.